This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Steve! Steve! Steve, wake up!
Huh? What's up, Mr. Gopher?
Steve, you're supposed to have made a video by now. You haven't done shit.
Yeah, well, I was resting.
Yeah, but your dozens of fans are waiting for your opinions on music. Don't you have a plan?
I have the concept of a plan. Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. And I am here with my good pal, Mr. Gopher. Say hi, Mr. Gopher.
Hi, Mr. Gopher.
So this is going to be one of those videos where I just talk about records pretty randomly. There's not really going to be a concept. But basically I just grabbed a bunch of stuff from the stack of what I've been listening to, which is also going to include some stuff that I've recently got. So kind of a wrap up of records that I've either picked up in the last month or dug out and been listening to lately, because I just kind of grabbed a stack. And I am going to start with one that I found the other day that was actually a holy grail record that just kind of fell into my lap when I was flipping through albums at my friendly neighborhood used record store. And this is Space Experience by John Keating, part of the Studio 2, like British late 60s, early 70s instrumental kind of lounge. It's lounge, but it's like huge lounge music. It's funky, real funky rhythm section, a lot of Moog synthesizer and orchestrations. And this is the first volume, and it's a quadraphonic pressing on Columbia. But yeah, great band leader. He's made some Phase 4 stereo records. But the theme from Star Trek with a funky Isaac Hayes theme from Shaft sounding rhythm section playing underneath it is worth the price of admission. And this is just an amazing record. Alright, so it made me think, let's see, if that's the most amazing space-themed record, what is the cheesiest space-themed record? And there's this. The Now Sound Orchestra on Peter Pan Records. So it was marketed to sell to kids. But this is kind of a good music education. Okay, so it's Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, 2001 Space Odyssey, and Close Encounters. As you can see, there's long tracks. So the Close Encounters and also the 2001, it starts out with the orchestrated version, and then the band kicks in halfway through, and it's like the funky version. Same with Star Wars. There's like orchestral Star Wars music, and also the disco Star Wars jam at the end of the side. And very cheesily performed by underpaid studio musicians. Straight to bargain bins for the kids. $2.99 when it originally came out. Still $2.99 today, right? Yeah, this next record, a very talented dude, Terry Manning. Terry Manning was a producer at Ardent Studios, also a photographer, musician, did a lot of stuff in the music biz. This album he put out in 1970. He played most of the instruments, although Chris Bell from Big Star plays some lead guitar on it. And this is a reissue, but it came out on the Enterprise label, same label as Isaac Hayes. But what I want to direct your attention to is, you notice as I'm holding this up to the light, the reflection, the first track is pretty long. It is a 10-minute psychedelic jam version of the Beatles' Savoy Truffle. And you got to hear this to believe it, man. But yeah, very cool record, and interesting kind of branch of the Big Star family tree, like I said, because Chris Bell plays on it. All right.
I'm cutting out this paper knife to make a point about this great frosting. Pillsbury frosting is supreme, so smooth and creamy. You can even spread it with a paper knife. See? Pillsbury makes it a special way. Visit it 50,000 times. You can do that at home.
All what we got here is American made. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's nicely displayed. Well, we don't get excited when it
Paper knife.
All right. Up next, the other cool record I found the other day. Rod Keith. Rod Keith. My Pipe Yellow Dream. And if you don't know the tragic story of Rodney Keith Escalin, he was part of what was called the song poem racket, which was basically demos. Sometimes you'd see in the 60s and 70s, you'd see these ads in comic books and in magazines saying, send us your poem and we'll turn it into a song. And Rod Keith was a frustrated musician, and that was his gig. But I could talk about song poem music forever, but what I'm going to do instead is direct your attention towards this movie. Off the Charts, the song poem story. This movie came out in 2003, and it's kind of a documentary about the whole song poem thing. And this movie is watchable for free, legit. It was on YouTube for a while, but just Google Off the Charts, the song poem story, and watch this movie. These next two records were based on a tip that my brother told me. They were by Pat Travers. And I had the other Pat Travers records with the big hits, the live album and Crash and Burn. But he was telling me that Iron Maiden drummer Nico McBrain played with Canadian arena blues rock guy Pat Travers. And I looked up that Nico McBrain played with Pat Travers on these two albums, Making Magic and Putting It Straight, in 1977. And if you're familiar with Pat Travers' hits or his song in the Valley Girl soundtrack, all you need to know is that these records rock harder than the records of his with the hit songs, and they are definitely worth checking out if you like that late 70s pre-metal hard rock kind of sound. Next is a musician that we recently lost, but he was in his 90s. He had a good run. He kept playing music right until the last possible second, and that is John Mayall. And I wanted to show this album, The Blues Alone, because Most people look for John Mayall records for the people who are playing in his band. Like the albums with Eric Clapton, the albums with Peter Green, which no doubt about it, those are amazing. But this album, The Blues Alone, from '67, he plays everything except the drums. So it's all him. And it's great. There's like piano, guitar, and yeah. He is definitely one of the arteries of the British blues movement of the late 60s and 70s. Maybe a couple years ago, I found this record by an artist called MAKO SICA, and I found different MAKO SICA music online, but nothing off of this record. Since I already talked about this, I just wanted to show the cool colored vinyl on this guy. But yeah, just improvised experimental stuff with guitar and trumpet and drums, and just nice and abstract and trippy kind of music to drift off to. But I found another MAKO SICA record a few weeks ago called Manifest Being, and I think you can get this on BANDCAMP. It's some trippy improvised music, but it's also kind of got a message. There's kind of lyrics here that it's the protest song about police brutality. This is really nice. Good improvised, experimental, tripped out stuff. Also in my previous videos, you've heard me talk at length about the year 1983 and the large amount of impactful music that was released that year. Here's another 1983 record. This is Twang Bar King by Adrian Belew. And I just saw this really cheap, and you know, I really liked the album he did before this, Lone Rhino, and this was the follow-up. And for some reason I never picked it up, but I picked it up now. And you know, he's got a sense of humor. It starts out with a cover of the Beatles' I'm Down, and then gets into the kind of quirky, proggy stuff that he did on the previous album. And yeah, this was around the same time that he was in King Crimson. So that's kind of the style of Belew that you get on this record. Yeah. Alright. So this next one is something I used to have on CD. I actually had both of this woman's albums on CD, and they got traded away, and I regretted getting rid of them. Wished I had them back, and turns out one of them, the second album, was reissued on vinyl. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna grab this. And this is Few, Our Likeness by Few from 1992. And this is a Japanese woman, sings and composes, and Jackie Liebesite, the drummer from Can, plays on this. So that's the Prague connection, and nice clear vinyl. Yeah, it's got Jackie Liebesite on drums, and it was recorded at Connie Plank's studio, so it checks some of those krautrock boxes, and it's got a nice kind of post-punk but also progressive sound to it, and she's got some interesting songs. So yeah, now I just gotta find the first album. Alright. Well, this was one I was at a friend's house and we were listening to this, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this record. This is a good record, and I dug it out. This is Leon's Creation. This is the beginning, and this is a independently released funk record from the Bay Area, from San Francisco, around on Studio 10 label. Which begs the question that Space Experience was on Studio 2, and there was all this reggae on a Studio 1. This record's on a Studio 10. So what were Studios 3 through 9 doing? I just love just the homegrown vibe of this album cover with their names and everything. Yeah, Leon's creation. They made this one album, and then the front man Leon joined Santana, and he's on this album, and he took with him the best song on this, which is called Mirage. Was redone a little more smooth by Santana, but Santana Borboleta, this was kind of part of his kind of trilogy of proggy, fusiony records, along with Caravanserai and Welcome. It means butterfly. Nice shiny reflecto cover. But yeah, it's one of the good Santana records where Carlos is just on fire playing the guitar. The DBs, one of the cornerstones of power pop. And this is actually like a reunion thing that they did in 2012, 4-song EP on orange vinyl. It was in my stack of stuff I was listening to. I don't remember if I talked about this record before or not, because I did get it a while ago. But Revolution of the Mind, it's a 4-song EP. And the lineup of the band: Pete Holzapfel, Will Rigby, Chris Stamey, Gene Holder. And yeah, Chris Stamey and Will Rigby solo records are worth checking out if you ever see them. But there's also guest appearance by Ira Kaplan from Yola Tango, and Mitch Easter, who produced R.E.M. Murmur, playing some guitar on this. Last record, and something completely different. This is Donald Shirley, and I know a few years ago they made a movie about him called The Green Book that won Best Picture. I've only seen clips of it. I'm not here to recommend that movie because his relatives were not pleased. They thought it was not accurate. But the man himself, Donald Shirley, on piano. Amazing. You know, along with like Ron Carter and Hubert Laws, you know, black musicians that were heavily interested in classical music, but found more opportunities playing jazz music, and kind of did music that was a little bit in between. So yeah, classically influenced piano versions of standards like I Covered the Waterfront and Secret Love, My Funny Valentine. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. And great Richard Davis on bass. All right. So that's it. All right, well, if you made it this far, then thank you. I appreciate all of my viewers, my friends, my repeat viewers, my viewers from the future, my parasocial friends, my 3 or 4 friends. Yeah. If you're new here, go watch some of my other videos. They might be better than this. You know, if you feel so possessed to like, subscribe, leave a comment, say hello. I'm always happy to hear from people and, you know, have a conversation. I mean, that's why we do this, right? But, yeah, I hope you all have an awesome week. And peace. Ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum.